Hi, I'm Jess,
And I'm Paige.
and we're the broadcast.
Babes.
So this week, let's talk a little bit about anxiety and intuition, what the difference is, and how to tell the difference, and how to tap into your intuition.
I'm excited about this because before this episode started, I didn't even know what this topic meant. And I was a little bit confused. But then Jess kind of filled me in. So I'm going to let her kind of lead this episode, maybe take us into the beginning.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to understand this is basically, is what I'm feeling anxiety, or is it my intuition warning me about something? And the reason why it's often so confusing is because anxiety causes a lot of fear. And so is it an actual worry you have that your gut is telling you, or are you afraid, or are you staying in your comfort zone? So you really need to tap into your intuition in order to tell the difference.
Right. And before this, I looked this up to make this a little bit easier. I think that this kind of is perfect. It was Katie Morin who said this. And she said, intuition is a voice that emerges in our heads during times of uncertainty. It guides us away from danger. An anxious thought is one that seems to emerge from nowhere and does not really serve to help, and it creates more fear than it does help alleviate. So it's kind of just talking about how anxiety is kind of just like a symptom, and that there's no positive aspects of anxiety. While intuition is the same feeling, but it's a solution kind of to anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and in the latter part of the episode, I am going to briefly go into the science behind it and our three different brains, our heart, our mind, and our gut. And that will kind of also help us bring all of that together and make informed decisions that are even better than just using logic, because you have to trust your heart too. But to start, trusting your gut can be confusing. And like I said before, fear does hold you back. So how do you tell fear and anxiety from actual worries? So for example, your heart may tell you to stay home because something bad will happen. And sometimes that is your gut. Sometimes you're being led into that just with your mind and your body feeling something's off. And sometimes you can choose to trust your gut. But I think the way to make the most informed decision is saying, is there any backing to why I'm feeling this way? And you have to learn to trust yourself as well and test that gut feeling, because you need to learn yourself and learn what's real and what's not.
Right, because intuition and anxiety, like literally, it's so crazy because you could be like at your house, like you said, and be like, I just really feel like there's like something's going to happen bad. And that can also turn into like day after day. You're like, oh,
agoraphobia.
Right. And then now you're not leaving your house.
Yeah.
So it's like such a fine line and a balance. And I feel like it takes a lot of like inner wisdom.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not something that you can just like figure out in a day. I feel like I don't really know the difference.
I think I have really good intuition.
Oh, you definitely do.
I think sometimes I'm borderline psychic. Like,
oh, wow.
Like I predict things sometimes.
You're good at it. But for example, I'm going to give it a life experience of Paige. I was going to go to a party, and for some reason, every single time I was around like this certain area, it was in Providence, I would get so ill. Like I would feel like I was going to throw up. And I like just felt so ill, and I was like, why am I feeling this way? And then like I got it in my head that like it's like for a reason, like there's a bad feeling. But then I overcame my fear. I went to the party in the area, and then I felt completely fine after. So it was like, it must have been all in my head.
Well, it was probably social anxiety.
I definitely don't have social anxiety.
Everyone has some form of it.
Really?
If you get nervous, like you even say you get nervous going on a date, that's social anxiety.
You know how nervous I get.
Yeah, that's a form of social anxiety. You don't have to be like, oh my God, I can't be around people at all to feel that way. But there's all different levels of anxiety.
You know how I cancel my dates every single week.
Yeah. Because you're getting anxious about it.
So that's not intuition. That's anxiety.
No, if it's a repeated behavior and you can't go on a date, that's anxiety.
Wow. I got to work on that.
Or your body's telling you you're not ready to date. There's also that possibility. Maybe you need to be single longer. There's also that.
All right, 20 years is a little too long.
Well, you're still young. I still think you're too young. Not too young, but you're still young. Like you have time.
I do have time.
No rush.
Sorry, I was trying to be personal.
It's turned into a dating therapy
Yeah,
episode.
no, it's our dating pod.
This week on Paige Finds Love.
I'm going on a date next week.
I thought you were going to be like, I'm going on Love Island. I was like, what?
Wait, no, not next week. I'm going on a date. That was supposed to be today.
What time?
Wait, hopefully tonight. He said they just said
Each gonna
Wednesday.
get frisky. Okay. All right.
Cut it out the pod.
So, all right. So, how do you trust your intuition? I think there's a lot of ways to tap into it and make it stronger. One is being deliberate about the people you hang around. And going back to what we've talked to so many times, energy vampires are going to cloud your judgment. They're going to suck the energy from you, and they're going to fill your head with emotions and thoughts that aren't going to benefit you in the way of mental clarity.
Okay. Next.
Any thoughts?
Listen, I don't know anything about this. So I want to hear your wisdom. With that, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that
Think of it as like building confidence. If you're around people that build your
Right.
confidence, you'll be more confident in trusting yourself, which ultimately comes to trusting your gut.
Right. I also think people can kind of give you anxiety. Like
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like I need to be around people like you that like trust your body, like trust your mind. Like when people are very uneasy and unsure, that makes me uneasy and unsure. And
Energies, vibrations, like they go from person to person. Like our energies will start to mirror each other and work cohesively together the more time you spend with someone and the more on the same wavelength that you are.
Right. I literally just laughed at the fact that you finished your statement and I was just dead silent. And you just looked at me and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, I like that one. All right.
Okay. All right. So this is a huge one, is mindfulness, being silent, being still, so that you can actually work on your mental clarity and listening to yourself and cutting out the noise of the world. And meditation's really good for that. Or literally just being present with yourself and not thinking about a million different things, just focusing on the now, where you are, how you feel, and getting it to know yourself.
That's super important. I feel like with that, there's two ways. Like first, when your mind's racing, I feel like a lot of people tend to just make themselves more busy. Like that's what I always do. But like when I had to focus on my mental health a few years ago, like I went to meditation and I found that is like so important, but it's like hard to stay consistent with like meditation because you think it's just like, oh, like I'll skip it for today, but you need to get in routine of like.
Yes and no. I think it's the same as anything else. Once you build the habit, your body's going to crave it more. And once if you break it once, twice, a few times, it's fine. But it's when you stop altogether that it's hard to get back into that or anything. Like just like working out, like you start working out, your body craves it every day. Like it's enjoyable to go work out. Like I want to go feel those endorphins, you know?
Yeah. I need to get back to meditation because I do think that, and I need to try yoga with you because you always ask me to go and you're getting your little certification. And I want to get into it because you've been telling me all the positive
There's
effects.
so many health benefits on your body and your mind.
Right. Like, why not try it? Like, even if it doesn't work for me, like.
It helps anxiety too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of remedies too to help those other feelings that you have, which will leave more space for your intuition. But going forward with that, boosting your mood is really important because negative emotions do cloud your intuition, and mental clarity is 100% fueled by positivity. And again, surrounding yourself with people that make you more positive and bring positivity into your life, it's going to make things a lot easier to hear your intuition and hear those true thoughts.
So I have a question. So mindfulness helps because it clears your mind and you can focus on the intuition. So like, is it just a feeling in your body that you get like with decisions, or like does your mind, this is gonna sound stupid, do you actually talk to your mind? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, does your mind like speak to you, or is it just like a little like queasy, like, oh, I shouldn't do that?
It depends on the thing. If I'm in a bad situation, I either feel uneasy. I have this weird thing where sometimes I feel it in my shoulders and my neck and my back, and I can feel a tingle. Yeah. That's why I like have a strong intuition.
That's crazy.
But then sometimes if you're just getting a gut feeling, like you can instantly tell if you like someone or not. And sometimes you're misled. Sometimes you want, like, people will fool you, obviously, especially with manipulative people. But there's just something like, oh, everyone loves this person, but I don't know why. Keep your distance. Later on, it's usually revealed why you had that feeling. If you're trusting your intuition, stuff like that, like it appears in so many different ways.
It's like a superpower.
Kinda, yeah.
I want it.
It's like another form of being like a psychic. That's what I think. Like,
Do you believe in that?
What?
Psychics?
Yeah, it's the same as intuition.
Oh.
Like, I'm psychic as in talking to the dead and getting your information from that, or psychic as in just knowing things. Because we only use 10% of our brain.
That's crazy.
Do you know how much
seen
mental
Lucy?
power we have that we haven't
Crazy.
tapped into? And so much of it that isn't studied enough?
Or it is studied.
Or
We
yeah.
just don't know about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, stuff is coming out now, like the cheat codes, like they released that the pain cheat codes, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
The government released them. There's certain numbers you can say out loud and you think about where your in your body hurts. So say your stomach hurts, you think about your stomach and you say, I don't know the exact code, but like 51345. Something like that.
No.
It's a real thing. But it's the power it's
the power
whether
of
or
your
not it
mind.
actually works in the same way you think it does versus the placebo effect. It's the power of our mind to convince ourselves. Like there's so many mind tricks that we are capable of that just aren't taught enough.
I need to think of it this way. I have negative mind tricks. For example, I might be the biggest hypochondriac that I know. Like I can make myself physically ill. So if I can do that, then I can definitely
Oh, of
do
course.
positive things.
That's the duality of life. If there's a negative, there's a positive version. So you can convince yourself of anything and make it true. And that's the power of positivity, affirmations, and manifestation. Our mind can create a reality because our entire world is energy and we're energy. So you just give that energy and you create your own reality.
Right. Speaking about affirmations, I read a book the other day, The Art of Not Giving Enough. I read something that really annoyed me.
I don't like that book.
I don't like that book at all because you know what it was saying? It was like affirmation. Like if you're like a positive, good person, you don't have to say affirmations. I don't think that's true at all.
I think that book is really misleading, and I think it's a trendy, catchy self-help book, and it's kind of like the title is like trendy. People it will
Right.
make you pick it up, but I think there's a lot of misleading information,
There
and
is.
I think it makes a lot of people worse. You need to give a
Yeah.
like you need to care.
Life is all about caring.
Yes, I hate that book,
I hate it. Like I was like just reading it.
and I've known someone that's made a very negative impact on too.
really.
Yeah,
I want to return it.
you should.
Because I was
Let's
like,
burn it.
let's burn it. I was just reading it. I was like, this is like not like this is like all negative energy. Like the whole thing is just negative energy.
And you see, like you can feel. I bet you if you touch that book, you'll feel it. You can. I'm telling you.
I'm starting to believe it.
I walk into a place and I can feel it.
I know.
Like there are houses I'll be like, do not buy this house because it feels evil.
Did my house feel evil?
No, not at
Okay,
all. I
good.
loved your house.
Okay, cool.
Oh my God.
Just wanted to
I'm
make
like,
sure.
yeah, it was so evil.
Like I actually got
You
chills
need to
in my
move out.
shoulders.
No, like my beach house, like my parents' beach house, definitely haunted.
Really? Oh yeah, you did say that.
Yeah. Mm-mm. No.
I like this episode. You're like teaching me. I like this.
I love like anything like spiritual like this.
I know.
I think intuition is largely spiritual. So, continuing how to tap into your intuition. This might be counterintuitive in a way, and it's about finding that balance because you may need to be silent, but I think it's also important to spend time with others, and that's what I was talking about, how our energies can align. It teaches you to pick up the signals of other and learning body language and learning people, and this will later I'll go into environmental awareness, but this also grows what is called empathic accuracy, and that's where you're going to start getting vibes from people, and you're like, wow, something's off about this person.
So just like being around people and picking up on how they act.
Yes. So, and it's not so much about like physically knowing or feeling or searching for this. It's more like going into environmental awareness. Intuition is largely your subconscious, right? So it's picking up on everything. So how can you make that more powerful? Being aware of your surroundings.
Wait, that's so cool. Broadcast Babes 101 teaching lying. Can you tell someone's lying?
I mean,
What are the tricks?
well, body language is huge.
Like they like Twitch.
There's tells. Like
Really?
I know when Mike's lying all the time. He gets a little dimple next to his
Stop.
nose. Yeah, it's like this little dimple. If it's like something stupid, like did you take the trash out? Like no.
Oh my god.
Literally, yeah. I can always tell. Everyone has different tells, but I mean, you can totally tell by their body language how they're standing if they get uncomfortable. But I mean, there's so many people that are like master manipulators that you would never be able to tell. But again, you could trust your gut and train yourself enough to have at least an inkling and be like, that's a little weird. Or if something doesn't add up, you know?
I'm very, as you know, very naive. And I feel like I don't even get the inkling. I just like trust full-heartedly 100%. And I feel like I could change that. Like if I was,
This is what this is about.
right, because there's a difference between being trusting and then being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I don't even think about intuition. I like I probably could tell signs if I even thought about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Even with just logic. However, like with intuition, I could definitely, but like I feel like you were saying, it's something you definitely need to focus on and like learn, because I feel like I have none. Like I'm not joking, none.
But it's not really to focus on your intuition so much as focusing on yourself and trusting yourself. And the way to do that is just by making yourself a better person and just like knowing certain things you can do that are going to make mental clarity, because the mental clarity is going to help you understand things and listen to what you're feeling. You know what I mean?
You're not doubting yourself, mental clarity?
Well, that too. That's the thing, is like you do have to trust yourself, but sometimes you do have to doubt yourself, because we do all get some form of anxiety or have anxious moments, you know? And you have to, that's where the 3 different brains comes into play, is how to make informed decisions. But this right now is just like how to fuel your gut.
Right.
You know?
All right. So intuition will help. Like, let's say I'm standing on a cliff. Cliff jumping. I want to jump off. That's a normal activity. Like, you could do that. Part of me is anxious because I'm like, oh my God, like something could happen. Then another half of me is like, okay, I feel like something bad is going to happen. So you're saying with intuition, you could tell the difference between like, okay, I'm going to jump off and like I'm going to die.
That's going more into like psychic capabilities. And I would say that's more, when making a decision like that, that's more risk versus reward.
Okay.
Is it worth dying? Is it worth the good time?
Probably not.
Or maybe if you feel if you're going to die jumping off a cliff, then you're going to die jumping off the cliff. So I'm going to take the risk, you know? Right. It depends on the individual. I would say that's a bit different. That's like, do I drive my car today? You know, those are...
Right. I'm learning here.
Yeah, that's a little bit too like psychic. Like, oh my God, like you have a vision of yourself. Like that's so Raven, like crashing your car.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. Okay.
Which some people definitely have that talent, and like clairvoyance, stuff like that.
By the end of this episode, I will have clarity.
So I do want to go into the science behind this a little bit, because I think it's really interesting, and I think intuition is science backed. So it makes everything more real if you have any doubts. So scientists do classify the head, the heart, and the gut as 3 different functional brains, which is fascinating. Starting with your head, your frontal lobe is your rational brain, and that really handles like planning, organization, reasoning, and managing emotions. So that's where the logic comes in, and that's often probably what you're using, right?
I don't really have that either.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah. I would say I don't make decisions based on emotion. I feel like I use logic.
Rational decisions, right?
Decisions.
Yeah.
So that's not emotion. Not involved at all.
No.
So I'm a frontal lobe thinker.
And then there's your heart, which sends emotional signals. And this will usually communicate needs, fears, desires. And this can help process what you feel. And this is also known to be the intrinsic cardiac nervous system.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is this a different part of your brain, or they're saying there's literally a mind in your heart?
Basically that. It's your emotion. It's not like in the same way that you're picturing a brain and how it functions and like the frontal lobe, stuff like that. It's more like a guidance, like kind of like the intuition, but this is the emotional side of it.
Okay.
And then there's your gut brain, which I do think is the most interesting to me, because it's literally your digestive tract. And it has over 100 million nerves. So think about how important that is. And the gut sends over 400 times more messages from the gut to the brain than the brain to the gut. So your gut is talking to your brain more than your brain is talking to your gut.
Right. See, that can be misjudged though, because I have a lot of stomach issues.
Well, this we're gonna get into that, because that's a huge thing.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. Like if you have anxiety, food is a huge part of that.
What I eat, you mean?
Yes. We're gonna get into it.
I have such a bad diet, dude.
We're gonna get into that's bad. Don't know. How do you have a bad diet?
I was talking to my dentist, which he didn't come on the show, and he was saying that like what you eat is like you are what you eat pretty much, which like makes sense, like because if I eat sugar, like the sugar gets like in my system and stuff. But like, what if he means like you are what you eat? Like,
oh yeah, mentally too. Yeah,
that's crazy.
We're gonna hold on. We're gonna
that's
get
why
into
America's
it.
all messed up.
What is?
America.
Oh yeah, America, standard American diet. We'll get into it. I promise.
Okay, sorry.
I promise.
I'm interrupting. I'm moving too fast.
So your gut brain is what's most closely related to intuition. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we talk about chronic digestive issues. A lot of the time, it's because your gut is picking up on stressors. And that's why there's a lot of people that if they heal their gut with like food and like whatever they're lacking, like iron, like certain deficiencies, things like that, their whole body will still have the same issues because they're still dealing with stressors. So they need to be healed at the same time, your anxiety and your gut. And they could also be causing each other. Like your anxiety can cause you to be sick, but also the food you're eating can cause your anxiety.
Oh my God. So I need to fix mine. Also, low iron. Have you seen this trend?
Oh, the white under your eyes?
You see that?
Yeah. That's
Low
usually from
iron
an
too.
eating disorder. Not eating enough.
Oh my gosh. This is making me realize I have a lot of problems.
Oh my God.
I need to fix that. Well, because you never think, because like you think about food, like maybe I need to fix my diet to feel better, like physically, like maybe I won't feel so ill, maybe to fix acne. Like I've never thought of it to fix like my mentals.
It's actually super important. That's why you think of, okay, on a simple level, a child eating too much sugar, they're going to act crazy, right?
True.
Think of you as an adult and constantly eating, you know, there's no parents regulating, eat your vegetables, eat all this stuff. So many people, especially like when you start working, you start eating fast food, you're busy all the time, you're going to grab a bag of chips, all these processed foods that literally alter your brain.
I had 6 mochis yesterday.
Where were they from?
Target. That's the ice cream balls.
Yeah, I know.
6 of them in one sitting.
I mean, I think there's balance. I think you'd like, it's hard to not worry and
balance.
stress about what you eat. They're only 100 calories a pop. So
Yeah.
that's the same as like half a tub of ice cream.
When I go to work, 2 baskets of rolls.
Oh, that's really bad.
They're each 200 calories.
Don't do that.
I try not to. I crave sugar.
No, that's really bad. The only way to stop craving sugar is to stop eating it, and your body will become less dependent on it.
If it will help my mentals, then I'll do it.
It will help your mental self. The processed foods are literally killing our country physically and mentally. I mean, think about it this way too. What causes Alzheimer's? A huge part of that is what we take into our body, and that's your mind. You're killing your brain.
I'm screwed.
No, your body is also incredible at healing itself. It can recover.
Wait, so Alzheimer's can be like caused by like sugar intake and stuff?
Yes. I mean, there's still so much different research on Alzheimer's, and I don't know, it's crazy how little people, like we are made to know about Alzheimer's, but yeah, so many of our like dementia, like our brain issues later on in life are caused by what we eat. And I believe same with like cancer, everything.
You know what's crazy? Like all those numbers are going up dramatically.
Of course, because we're eating more and more processed food. We have an egg shortage because the chickens aren't getting the right feed. All of that is getting cycled into our body.
Jeez. $10 eggs the other day.
Yeah, because there's no eggs. I mean, I think our body is fueled by food, but in the same way, a lot of the food, especially in America with the regulations, like it's not giving us the proper energy because it doesn't have all the same nutrients as it should, like with the pesticides. And this is also why like I'm very eager to have a holistic doctor on the podcast to talk about ways that we can naturally heal ourselves too, because everything is a medication. You know, there are resources on this earth that were put here by whoever you believe to heal ourselves. And I think nature, like we are nature. So why wouldn't we fix ourselves with nature?
Right. And if you think about it that way, like obviously like take away like times that are wicked far away. But like over the past 100 years, like we've only been eating more processed foods. We've been consuming more media, all things that are not natural. And then our health has just gotten worse, has declined dramatically. So like that is like the outlier is media and then food. Mm-hmm. That's changed so much. So I think
and technology as a whole, not just media.
Yeah, just like the blue lights and all that.
Everything.
Yeah, but I need to focus on eliminating that kind of stuff because that is definitely the outlier of like the past 100 years.
And I will say like everyone's body is different. So for me, I don't eat meat and I see a difference in my body when I don't. And I just don't think I have the digestive system to break down meat. But there are other people who believe in the carnivore diet. And you have to kind of figure out what works for your individual body and test out different things. You know, Francesca was telling you about, you know, healing your gut and slowly removing each food and seeing how you react to know what your body's essentially allergic to and what you can't break down. And even alcohol, like I think alcohol is so bad for your body. And it's
I agree.
like all these drugs are, they're all illegal, but alcohol's legal. It's kind of crazy. Like, no shame to you, but I do think it's really bad for your body, especially on such a regular basis that America is so used to.
Right. Like, I feel like we talked about this before, but like blacking out is so like common. And just like blacking out is literally
It's like what is happening to your body?
Like overdosing on alcohol.
It's
like
crazy.
And then people do it and then just like, oh, no big deal. I just forgot
like
last
I blacked
night.
out. That was literally me. That was literally me for all of college. Yeah, I blacked out like every single night.
That's not normal for your brain to just forget things.
No, it's so crazy. When you think about what is so normalized in our society, it's actually infuriating because it's like, how do you escape it? How do you get healthy? It's like you try to buy organic, it's not even organic. So like, what is the solution?
Right.
And our country, I can't speak on behalf of other countries, but I think our country, the food system, it's corrupt, you know?
I've heard like when you go to Europe or like any, literally different. Any other country, like you just feel clean. Like we're so used to feeling like really full or like really ill after we eat. But like in other countries, you can eat like a ton, but you don't feel like that gross, like heavy feeling.
And
but
here the junk food, like the dyes and everything.
I heard Doritos are really bad for you.
Doritos are terrible for you. And my favorite hot Cheetos and Takis. They're so good. They're so bad for you. Yeah.
Hot Cheetos?
Yeah, they're like the worst thing. That's why I don't eat them.
All right, I'll cut
they're
those
my
out of the
favorite.
Our fruits are good. Or too much fruits are bad.
It's not so much too much fruits. It's where you're getting your fruit from.
The grocery store.
That's the thing, is the nutritional value. Even the wax that they put on the apples. Like, it's so bad.
I have a farm right by my house. I should probably start.
You should start going to farmers markets, to farms, maybe start a garden, stuff like that. Getting self-sustainable. I think even just as a whole, I think that's so important. If you're in a place where you're grounded and you have the time, I think getting self-sustainable to some level, being able to grow some type of food, it's also going to help with overconsumption and money, saving money.
It's hard to start a garden though. It's
a lot of work.
We just got a blueberry, or maybe it's a peach tree, but like we try to grow watermelons in the summer.
Watermelons, wow.
Hasn't worked.
I have blueberry bushes.
It's also fun.
Well, it's really funny because what happened was, who we bought our house from, there's wetlands, and he kept like building or something or doing something over there, and they made him rip it down and plant blueberry bushes everywhere. Like the town of Narragansett made him plant blueberry bushes. So now we have a ton of blueberry bushes.
I love blueberries.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. We've been talking about food for a while. Very important. But what else is going to help our intuition?
So that's what I was saying is I've said about how to help your intuition. Now, how to make the most informed decisions is bringing the three together, listening to your mind, your heart, and your gut.
Right.
You know,
how do you practice doing that?
Question. You know, if you're getting a feeling, is there any logic behind it? No. Listen to your heart. Is it still really pulling you in that direction? Take the risk and listen to your gut, even though there's not a reason to. Or say, wow, your brain is really telling you that none of this makes sense. You're acting a little crazy. Then, okay, maybe it's not your gut. Maybe it's your anxiety.
Right. I think that there's also a third, so it's intuition, anxiety. I think another feeling that's very similar is like excitement too. And that can kind of be drawn in with intuition, because there's times where I'm like, let's say like before a broadcast, and I'm freaking out. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I don't really get nervous anymore. But for my last broadcast, it was my very last one for URI, I felt like I was going to throw up. I'm not joking. I felt so ill. And then I was talking to my friend Taylor, and I was like, why? I was like, why do I feel like that? And she was like, you're probably just excited for the next step, or maybe you're nervous, or maybe it's a third, so I feel like there's a lot of feelings that feel similar to excitement, anxiety. I don't even know. There's a ton of different things, but it takes that intuition to figure out which one it is.
Yeah.
Because they all feel the same.
Yeah. You have to listen to all parts of your body. They work cohesively, and, sometimes anxiety or gut, they can literally give you physical signs, like I said with my shoulders, or sometimes when you're nervous and you break out in hives, listen to your body. Okay, I'm getting too stressed out. I need to just step back from things and listen to what's going to make me feel better. So those are just some tips, and I think pretty soon we're going to really do our research and get a good holistic doctor on, and we want to talk more about the whole food thing, because I know it's a concern of a lot of people, me myself included.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it should be a concern for all of us, because it's really hard to get away from. because it's, again, so normalized that like even
And
like,
I think I eat pretty clean, but I don't
You
think
do.
like in the grand scheme of things, like I don't think everything clean I'm eating is healthy for me.
probably not.
That's
But
a
you have
huge
very good
concern.
intuition, so I think you're doing all right.
Well, my intuition is telling me that my food is poison.
Wow. That's
Not
intense.
to get dark, but
That's intense.
essentially, a lot of illnesses in America. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it is. That was a great episode by Dr. Jess, scientist Jess.
Oh, I was just going to plug Dr. Sebi, RIP,
Oh.
but check him out too.
Who's
He has a
that?
lot of good information.
He's a holistic doctor?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, plug him.
But he's gone. He's moved on.
Oh.
RIP.
All right, we'll try to get that holistic doctor on for you guys because I definitely need to learn more about it. Jess seems like she always wants some new information on it, so we're gonna grind for that. We'll do some work.
See you next week.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Tune in every single Monday on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Don't forget to leave us a review and follow us on our social media. Our Instagram is @BroadcastBabesPod.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time. I'm Jess,
I'm Paige.
and we are the Broadcast
Babes.